Hey everybody, we're going to go ahead and do Genesis 41. Joseph interprets dreams for Pharaoh. If you will, get your Bibles out and we will begin. So, this should go pretty quick, but, anyways, uh, chapter 41, verses 1 through 36. So it came to pass at the end of 2 full years, Pharaoh had a dream. And behold, he stood by the river. Suddenly there came up out of the river 7 cows, fine looking and fat, and they fed in the meadow. Then 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, ugly and gaunt, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the river. And then the ugly and gaunt cows ate up the 7 fine looking and fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. Then he went back to sleep and dreamed a second time. And suddenly 7 ears of corn came up on one stalk, plump and good. Then behold, 7 ears of corn, thin and blighted by the east wind, sprang up after them. But the 7 ears of corn devoured the 7 plump and full ears. So Pharaoh woke, and indeed it was a dream. Now it came to pass in the morning his spirit was troubled. So he sent and called for all the interpreters of Egypt and all of its wise men. Thus Pharaoh told them in his dreams, but there was no one that could interpret them for Pharaoh. Then the cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I remember my sin this day, when Pharaoh was angry with his servants and put me into the custody in the house of the chief bodyguard. Both the chief baker and I had dreams in one night, both he and I. Each had a dream regarding himself. Now, there was with us a young Hebrew slave of the chief bodyguard, and we related our dreams to him, and he interpreted them for us. And it came to pass just as he interpreted for us, so it happened. He restored me to my office, but he hanged him. So Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon. He was shaved, changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. Thus Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and there's no one who can interpret it. But I heard it said of you that you can understand a dream and interpret it. So Joseph answered Pharaoh and said, It's not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, Behold, in my dream I stood on the bank of the river. Suddenly 7 cows came out of the river, fine looking and fat. They fed in the meadow, and then 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and gaunt, such ugliness as I've never seen in all the land of Egypt. And the gaunt and ugly cows ate up the first 7 fat cows. When they had eaten them, no one would have known that they had eaten them, for they were just as ugly at the as at the beginning. So I awoke and fell asleep again. Again I saw it in a dream, and suddenly 7 ears of corn came up on one stalk full and good. Then behold, 7 ears of corn withered, thin and blighted by the east wind, and then they sprang up after them. But the thin ears of corn devoured the 7 good ears. So I told all this to the interpreters, but there was no one who could explain it to me. So Joseph said to Pharaoh, The dreams of Pharaoh are one. God has shown Pharaoh what he's about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears of corn are 7 years. The dreams are one, but the 7 thin and ugly cows that came up after them are 7 years. And the seven empty heads blighted by the east wind are also 7 years of famine. This is the thing I've spoken to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he's about to do. Indeed, 7 years of great plenty will come throughout all of the land of Egypt. But after that, 7 years of famine will arise, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. And the famine will deplete the land, so the plenty won't be known in the land because of the famine that follows, for it'll be very severe. Now the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice because it was established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. So therefore, let Pharaoh select a sensible and intelligent man, set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this. Let him appoint governors over the land to collect 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt in the 7 plentiful years. Let them gather all the food of the 7 good years that are coming and store up grain under Pharaoh's authority. Then let them keep food in the cities. This food will then be used as a reserve in the land for the 7 coming years of famine in the land of Egypt, that the land may not perish during the famine. So we have this right here. You can see this little picture from Shabbat website. I thought it was really cool, so I shared it on here. Um, so 2 years pass and Pharaoh has a dream. In it, 7 cows have come up from the Nile, and if you know the symbology and the imagery, under the sea and the river is the abyss or the underworld. So this is a divine realm in the supernatural context. Often it's bad and negative. And this is a message being given to Pharaoh. So those 7 fat and living cows get eaten by 7 zombie, nightmarish, dead looking cows. And so then he has a second dream. And in the second dream, he has 7 good corn that are eaten by 7 cannibal corn. So no one in the kingdom could interpret these dreams and apply them as far as how to react and respond to them. So they probably interpreted them, but they just couldn't apply them, and none of them seemed to fit. So Egypt would at this period have a whole group of lector priests from every follower of the pantheon of Egyptian deities. And they would have all tried to do this, but yet none of them could figure it out, according to the story. So the cupbearer remembers Joseph then and tells Pharaoh about him. So now Joseph gets out of prison. They make him get cleaned up and shave him entirely bald. And they were like Egyptians were obsessed with hygiene, and lice were a common and huge issue. So this is actually kind of a interesting fact, but this is probably after the Hyksos rebellion, because the Egyptians were obsessed with hygiene and lice and all of that, so they would shave everything. So this lends credence to what time period Joseph and this Pharaoh are in, but it still cannot be fully ascertained what kingdom of Egypt area it is, really. So we don't know for sure. We probably can't know for sure, but probably after the Hyksos rebellion, probably. But I could be wrong. And if you have good arguments, better arguments, bring them to me, because I would love to see them, because this topic actually does really fascinate me, actually. So, anyways, so Joseph interprets for Pharaoh and tells him God has shown you what he will do, a good 7 years, and then 7 years of misfortune and famine for Egypt and all surrounding areas. So God gives him the dream twice to tell him that it's going to happen. Like, there's not going to be anything that can be done to stop it. So now verse 37 through 57. Now this advice was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of all his servants. Thus Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find such a man as this, who has the Spirit of God in him? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there's no one as sensible and intelligent as you. You'll be over my house, and all my people will be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I've set you over all the land of Egypt. So Pharaoh took the signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. Then he had him ride in the second of his chariots, and they cried out before him, bow the knee. So he set them over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh also said to Joseph, I'm Pharaoh, and without your consent, no man may lift his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. So then Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah, and he gave him as a wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. So now Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, went through all out the land of Egypt. In the 7 years of plentiful years, the ground brought forth abundantly. So he gathered up all the food of the 7 years of prosperity in the land of Egypt, and he stored the food in the cities. He laid up in every city the food of the fields that surrounded them. Joseph gathered a lot of grain as the sand of the sea until he stopped counting, for it was immeasurable. Now 2 sons were born to Joseph before the years of famine came, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, some call it Potiphar, but it is Potiphar, just so you know, priest of On, bore to him. Joseph called the name of his firstborn Manasseh, and he said, for God has made me forget all my troubles and all my father's house. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my humiliation. Then the 7 years of plenty in the land of Egypt ended, and the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph had said. The famine was in all lands, but in the land of Egypt there was bread. So when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, go to Joseph, whatever he says to you, do. The famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. And then all the countries also came to Joseph in Egypt to buy again, because the famine was severe in all the lands. So what we have here, hold on. So what we have here, I got a picture of from Shabbat again. Joseph next applies the dream and suggests Pharaoh prepare 20% of the food over the 7 years, so the next 7 you'll have a surplus. So This answer looks good to Pharaoh, so he makes Joseph emergency power as his regent and a supreme governor. And we see Joseph has stayed faithful to God, and God honors him here in a huge way. God is serving Egypt through Joseph. So remind yourself that Abraham was promised that all nations would be blessed through him and his seed. Egypt, this pagan nation, is saved here through Joseph, one of Abraham's seed. If Israel is faithful like Joseph, Israel will also be blessed and bless all nations. And this applies to us today because the church is Israel. So the Pharaoh renames Joseph, and his Egyptian name is Zaphnath Paneah, and we don't know what that means. You can ask a lot of people, and they can give you some educated guesses, but we don't know what it means. So he's given a wife, Asenath, and she is the daughter of Potiphar, and this is a different Potiphar because you read before that he was under a Potiphar as their slave. Well, he's not under that guy anymore. This is a different one. And this guy is a priest of On, which is a city of Egypt that will later get called Heliopolis. So you know that more than uh, you might know that one if you've read through the Bible and know some of the Egyptian history too. Anyways, Joseph marries the daughter of a pagan priest, and this fact will fascinate many people throughout the centuries. Eventually, there's going to be a very popular book that Christians will use called Joseph and Asenath, that even St. Luke will reference in the New Testament, and Second Temple Jewish sources will do it a lot as well, which tells us about her conversion to Yahweh. So he is also adopted into Pharaoh's household. Like Jacob clothed him, Pharaoh now does so for him. Joseph is also 30 years old. He turns 37 when the famine starts, and he has had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. So Manasseh, for God has made me forget all my troubles and all my father's house. Manasseh in Hebrew means forgetfulness. So he has named his children Hebrew names. Ephraim means fruitfulness. And he names him that, for God has called me to be fruitful in the land of my humiliation. So these are Hebrew names that Joseph gives them. Joseph prospers in Egypt through his preparedness and his hard work for Pharaoh. So he's kind of like a really good prepper, right? uh, that's how I kind of like to look at it. He's a very good prepper for Pharaoh and Egypt in general. So all the neighboring lands around them will start coming to Egypt for assistance, in fact, and this will lead 11 brothers of Joseph's to have to go there in the next chapter. So after this chapter, we'll be getting to Genesis 42, but we will do that one in the next one. So, anywho, if you like this chapter, if you like this podcast, hit like and subscribe, and we will do the next one on the next time. So, thank you. God bless, and check you out next time. See y'all next time. Bye.